Soon we will hear from 6 candidates who are running for village trustee. Too often voters sit out local elections and they wait until presidential elections to exercise their vote. However, local offices have the potential to impact your life more than a president ever could. I am pleased you are here because you are participating in democracy. Because of you, I assume you will vote. Encourage your neighbors and friends to use their vote on April 7. I am Judith Royal, and I welcome the candidates and you on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, Buffalo Grove, including Prospect Heights, Wheeling, and Elk Grove Village. The purpose of the League of Women Voters is to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League is a nonpartisan political organization. Nonpartisan in that it never supports or opposes any candidate or political party. Political in that it does act on government issues selected by members and on which a position has been reached through study and member agreement. For example, in February, the League and other Illinois leagues concluded its charter school study. The study focused on the transparency and accountability. Membership in the League is open to every citizen, regardless of gender, race, or ethnic origin. You just have to be 18 years old or older. If anyone in the audience is interested in joining the League, any member can talk to you, and there is information in the hallway that has our membership information on the back. You can also make tax-deductible donations to the League of Women Voters. We use these to put on candidate forms like this. Please write on your check, the League of Women Voters, Arlington Heights. Any member wearing a League button can help you this morning. The League is pleased to put on candidate forums like this one, to allow citizens to become better informed about the issues facing their community, and to become better acquainted with the candidates running for office. The League is honored to provide this service to the community. We need your questions today. The moderator will use your written questions. League members can provide you an index card. Your question must be posed in a neutral manner without reference to a League position. Questions must be framed to give candidates an opportunity to explain their positions rather than to answer yes or no. Please make your questions relevant to the office for which these candidates are running. Attack questions will not be used. Also, questions must be phrased so that all the candidates can answer them. When your question is written, return your index card to a League member. She will get it to the League sorters who sort through them to avoid duplications. The moderator will use these questions and as many as time allows. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the moderator, Edith Octor, who is a member of the Illinois League of Women Voters and a resident of Barrington. She has no personal interest in this contested race, in compliance with the nonpartisan policy of the League of Women Voters. So, the show is yours, Edith. Thank you so much for helping us today.
Thank you, Judith, and welcome to everyone, and thank you for attending. Our first portion this morning will involve the village trustee candidates. There are 4 incumbents and 2 challengers, and they are seated in the order per the draw that Judith mentioned. And so they have each signed the rules, and I'm going to briefly summarize those for you. Your opening statements will be 2 minutes in length. They will be in the order left to right in front of me. The response time to questions will be 1 minute, and we will alternate that order down the row so that everyone has the opportunity to respond first, middle, last, wherever. The unused time will not accumulate, and my timers are seated here in the front row, and they will display a 1-minute sign during your opening statement, as well as 30 seconds throughout the forum, and the stop sign. When that sign comes up, if you're mid-sentence, please conclude that sentence. Do not run on. I will at some point say, please stop. All of you will have an option for a 30-second rebuttal. If you would like to exercise that rebuttal, just please put your hand up. You have 2 of those, a maximum of 2 per candidate. And then we'll also have the closing statements, and they will be delivered in reverse order from my right to left. I'll be happy to repeat any question at any time, should you ask me to do so. And I believe that with that, we're done with the rules for the candidates. And I know that Judith summarized our audience participation. I do have one additional rule, for the candidates. A reminder that any visual aids or electronic devices or computer devices are not permitted. And this is an important rule for everyone present this morning, that the candidates have agreed that their organizations, and their supporters will not use this forum, portions of this forum, or any audio clips, video clips, or transcripts thereof for political advertising or for other purposes. And then a reminder to our audience, which is tremendous this morning, please limit your participation to submitting those questions on cards. And I'm going to ask that any applause be held until the conclusion of the forum so that we can keep rolling and cover as many topics as possible. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer any. Are we ready to go? Okay, so the order, we begin with Trustee LaBedz. Your 2-minute opening statement, please.
Thank you. I would first like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event and giving voters an opportunity to get to know where we stand on the issues facing our community. I was appointed to the Village Board in May of 2013 by Mayor Tom Hayes to fill his vacant trustee seat. It was an honor to be recognized for my many years of community involvement by this appointment. I've lived in Arlington Heights for 37 years, and my family and I have lived near the library since 1980. We bought near the downtown so that we could walk to the train, definitely not because of the downtown as it was at that time. But thanks to the forward-thinking vision of previous village leaders, our downtown has become a destination with entertainment options and plenty of restaurants, and it's pretty hopping on a Friday and Saturday night. Seeing the downtown change sparked my interest in civic affairs, and I've been active for 25 years, starting with serving as president of my homeowners association. I've served as a number of appointed and elected positions on the Housing Commission, the Library Board, and the Plan Commission are some of them. I'm also active in the League of Women Voters, the Friends of the Library, and done numerous other volunteer activities. Many of the people I've talked to during this campaign have told me they're very happy living here and that Arlington Heights is a great place in which to live, work, play, and raise a family. But they have also expressed concerns about a number of issues, including the future of Metropolis, flooding, aging infrastructure, business growth and retention, and of course taxes. And I share their concerns. I'm not one to shy away from making hard decisions, and I believe that my many years of service make me well equipped to deal with these important issues. With your vote, I can continue to be an asset to the board and to the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Scaletta. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Trustee Scaletta. I was right the first time. Wow. Your opening statement, please.
Thank you. I also would like to thank the League of Women Voters. I think this is a great opportunity for everyone to meet each of the candidates. I'm running for village trustee because I love Arlington Heights, and I want to give back to a community that has given so much to me. In the late 90s, when we built the movie theater across the street, the community embraced me because we were bringing entertainment back to downtown Arlington Heights. And it was through that mutual affection for the community that I started to work on several different boards and commissions including the Arlington Heights Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Association, where I served as president, the Economic Alliance, the Arts Commission, the Downtown Redevelopment Task Force, and a variety of other non-for-profits and commissions. Arlington Heights is a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. And I've enjoyed the opportunity to meet residents and discuss the important issues that affect their lives. And obviously, one of them is taxes. And as a board member, because I came on in 2007, it was a very difficult time because we hit the Great Recession. And at that time, it was time to roll up our sleeves and find ways to cut our budget. And through those cuts, we reduced staff by 45 personnel and found ways to eliminate, or not eliminate, but create efficiencies that reduced our budget and provided an opportunity for us not to increase the budget as it had been done in the past. There's no one particular issue that motivates me, as I'm generally looking forward to resolving issues that are important to all the residents, including, as previously mentioned, flooding, the Metropolis Theater, and the new police station that will be built. The new police station needs to be built within budget, and we have 2 trustees that are sitting on that committee for the new police station, which is a great opportunity for there to be input from the very beginning and not wait until too far in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next opening statement, Trustee Blackwood.
Thank you, League of Women Voters. I appreciate the time to address the group and also to the people in the audience regarding my reasons for running for re-election. I am currently a 33-year resident of Arlington Heights, relocated from the West Coast, and have been here ever since and have enjoyed living and working in the community. And by living and working in the community, you have a rather unique position because you can appreciate local concerns as well as and that goes for local concerns of businesses and residents. And I think when you have that balance and perspective, it all works in synergy to create a stronger quality of life. And one of the qualities of lives that we currently enjoy is the Park District, which we'll be speaking before you shortly, and certainly the library and all of the issues that basically are components to the economic viability of town. And I have also served and am currently serving on Meet Chicago Northwest, which gives me a greater opportunity to see how the economy of Arlington Heights impacts the rest of our local regional municipal neighbors. And I found that one of the most important things that Meet Chicago has brought to the table is the value of Metropolis and the theater and what it means to the community. And so I'm very interested in sharing my views on that and certainly any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Your opening statement, Candidate Harris.
Good morning to all of you out there. Good morning to my fellow residents watching on TV, and good morning to my fellow candidates. My thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. If you look at the candidates up here today, you will see that I am the youngest, and I think that is a positive. My candidacy represents a new generation of Arlington Heights residents. We need someone on the village board with that perspective, a perspective for the future. Although I'm the youngest candidate up here, I'm the only lifelong resident of Arlington Heights. I have great memories of growing up here. The old downtown area, Max and Irma's restaurant where Honeyberry sits now, the old Memorial Library, even the Hallmark on Dunton where I bought many Mother's Day gifts. I know the way Arlington Heights was. I know the way it is now, and I want to use that knowledge to make it even better into the future. I've built my life on a culture of service. After St. Viator High School, I attended the United States Military Academy at West Point. West Point's mission is to graduate men and women who are leaders of character to be dedicated to a lifetime of selfless service. And that's why I'm here today, to continue down that path of service. Not to the U.S. Army or to the nation now, but service to my fellow residents of Arlington Heights. I served the nation by leading soldiers into combat zones. I've served charitable organizations in leadership positions, and I have served on 2 different village commissions under 2 different mayors. There are challenges ahead, but I am fully prepared to tackle those challenges on your behalf. I understand government budgets, intergovernmental agency agreements, and the difference between crafting and implementing policy. My previous years of service have prepared me for this opportunity to give back to my hometown and serve you as a village trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next opening statement, Trustee Sidor.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I would also like to thank the League and the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum, and to all those present and watching at home. Hi, Mom. 4 years ago, you made an investment in me by electing me as your trustee, and I would like to thank you again because it has been a wonderful 4 years and a great experience. Please allow me to take a moment now to talk to you about your return on that investment. You told me back then that you were concerned about the empty storefronts in our village. So to help retain small businesses, Mayor Hayes and I collaborated with the Chamber of Commerce, the Planning Department, and the Economic Alliance to create the first small business development agreement in our town. This breakthrough agreement has proven highly successful in providing additional support, outreach, and retention efforts for many of the small businesses in our community that is the lifeblood of our business. You told me back then, Mike, spend our money wisely. So when area communities explored municipal aggregation of our electrical supply, I insisted that a 100% renewable power option be considered. Not only did we save Arlington Heights residents and businesses over $7.2 million on your electric bills, we did it while utilizing 100% renewable power, which makes for a more responsible Arlington Heights. These are just 2 examples of how your investment in me has paid dividends. I treat all issues with the same passion, whether it's a trip hazard in a sidewalk in a neighborhood or a village-wide issue like the infrastructure or the police station. I approached the job of village trustee by listening first, being responsive, and working to find common ground solutions. Library trustee Debbie Nelson was kind enough to write this. Mike brings people together with his open nature, strategic mind, and common sense approach to creating solutions with positive outcomes. I look forward to this morning's discussion, and I am confident that you will choose to reinvest in me on April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. Your opening statement, candidate Schwingbeck.
Well, I too would like to thank the League of Women's Voters, all of you for being here today. This is really a pleasure, and for all those watching at home. I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of who I am, since this is the first time I'm running for public office on my personal side. My wife Renee and I chose Arlington Heights back in 1988. Some friends of ours told us to look at this community. We were living up in Antioch, Illinois, and we came here because of the community. I've gotten involved over the years personally with our church and Paths and Journeys to Hope. A lot of youth sports as a coach and a manager, with our neighborhood association as a treasurer, and also a donor to our community hospital in the Metropolis. The big thing that I've gotten involved in really my whole life is the scouting program. And the reason why I'm running in Scouts, community services, is the core of my principle. And I want to give back and make Arlington Heights an even better place than when I got here. I think my managerial experience, I'm an engineer, been in business my whole career, can really help this board. I've been on numerous committees at work, from mergers and acquisitions. I'm able to make extremely tough decisions. I want to hold people accountable for their actions, and I strongly believe in keeping existing businesses doing well and attracting new businesses. So I'd be honored and privileged to be one of the trustees of this village.
Thank you. So now we've arrived at the point where you'll be responding to questions. Based on the time that we've allotted for this forum, I believe that I'll be asking about 10 questions. And reminder, it's a minute response on the questions. We'll alternate the order. And I'll always try to remember to announce before I read the question who's going to be responding first. So the first to respond will be Trustee Scaletta. The question is, our infrastructure is falling apart. What do you propose to do to address and reverse this problem?
Well, we do have an aging infrastructure, and over the years we have taken steps to address some of it. And in the coming months and coming years, we'll be addressing many other areas of it. First, we have a study that was that we submitted an RFP because we need to get some professional opinions on the issues that are impacting the village. We have many issues aside from the flooding that goes on, which is very important, and that's where we're going to get some information on a study, which will provide us with a phased approach of how we can make improvements so that we can remedy those issues. But we also have other issues where with the aging infrastructure that have to do with water supply. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we've had over the last several years we've had many more water main breaks, and that's due to the aging infrastructure. And so we need to not only tackle the flooding issue, but we need to also address our other aging infrastructures, and we'll do that in a phased, responsible approach.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Blackwood.
Thank you. One of my major concerns when I take a look at the issues facing the village in the next 4 to 5 years are the infrastructure problems. And when I take a look at the roads and when I talk to individuals, whether they're residents or businesses in town, they're always talking first and foremost about why aren't we fixing the potholes? Why aren't the cracks in the roads being addressed? What about the cracks in the streets? And sidewalks, and certainly what are we doing with some of the cracks in the municipal buildings and the garages. And one of the things that I always believe in when I talk about essential services is making sure that our municipal buildings, our roads are addressed, and certainly we're going to be looking at the materials that were used in the roads before. One of the issues was pozzolanic base that was very popular in the 60s and 70s. It's now deteriorating. And when we replace that particular material, we have to put down 12 inches of stone and another 4 inches of asphalt.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Harris.
Well, replacing the aging infrastructure is going to be expensive. And because of that expense, we have to get it right the first time. So to get it right the first time, what we need to do is first, as Trustee Scaletta said, listen to the experts. We have studies out there. We have village employees who are experts in those fields, and we need to gather their input first, and then we need to, as a village board, make the tough leadership decisions. We can't fix all the infrastructure at once. So the answer is there's going to have to be a prioritization. There's going to have to be things that are fixed first and things that are put off to a later date. And I think my business experience and my Army experience of running operations and doing client services for an international travel company, we have to prioritize, and I know how to do that.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Sidor.
Thank you. I think the obvious ones that we talk about all the time and that when we're knocking on people's doors is the flooding and things like that. We could talk about infrastructure that we're addressing currently, immediately. I think that was part of the question. Currently and immediately, we are addressing our municipal garages. There's been significant salt penetration to the point where we need to address the structural integrity of our municipal garages immediately, which we will be doing in the very near future. During the budget session the other day, it was explained to us at length how this salt penetration affects the structural integrity of the garages. So to specifically answer the question, immediately you will see us working on our municipal garages, and in the future, once we get the flood study done and presented to us with various options, we will be tackling that, as Trustee Scaletta said, in a very methodical way. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Schwingbeck.
Well, there is a plan in place. The flood study, that's a big issue. That's coming out here shortly and going to be presented to the village board. There's a plan. I've talked to the engineering department, a 5-year plan for roads, not only resurfacing, but completely going down to base and reconstructing the road. So that plan is in place. It's a 5-year plan. The village has that in place. It is expensive, and it's no different managing a village than managing a business. You have to look at the priorities and fix the things that are really important to fix now. Things that can be pushed off a little will be. You have to look at the revenue you bring in and make those tough decisions. And being in business for 30 years, I can certainly do that.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. As all the other candidates have said, there are a number of infrastructure issues that we need to address and that is going to be costly and that we are going to have to phase in how we approach them. Sometimes those problems are readily apparent, like when a water main breaks, sometimes not so much, like just driving past the municipal garages. But we were able to fund the repair work on the garages, as others have said, and that will start this summer. That will increase their lifespan by 40 to 50 years. And that's very important because that's how we're approaching our infrastructure repairs, not just immediate fixes, but for the long term. Because even though it will be expensive, over the long term, if we do it right, we're going to save ourselves money. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, Trustee Blackwood, you'll be first to respond. If Governor Rauner's budget is approved, Arlington Heights would lose over $3.5 million in funding from the state each year. How would you replace those funds or cut services to make up for that shortfall?
I believe that in the case of the cuts, we certainly have to look at both. We have to take a balanced and reasonable approach to how we can sustain ourselves in the upcoming year and certainly going forward. I think that from what we have learned in the budget process, we would be able to sustain ourselves for a year. But if we have to go past that, and if it's truly 50% of the income tax, it could result in possibly eliminating 26 police officers, 26 firefighters, 50% of public works, or maybe 40% of the village hall staff. And those are all key components to the essential services that we rely on in a village, and that's what we're responsible for as trustees.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Harris.
What the state and what the governor did was wrong. When the state income tax was instituted in 1969, the state and the municipalities entered into an agreement. And for the last 40 or 50 years, the village has held up that end of the bargain. The state with this decision has not. It was wrong. Having said that, we have to prepare for what could happen and what the worst case possibility is. 80% of our costs in the village go to personnel. So before we talk about that 80%, I want to see what we can do on that other 20%. Are there areas of duplication? Is technology being leveraged efficiently? Are there areas of scalability within the various village departments in which manual processes can be automated? Before eliminating any village personnel, we need to look at how the government is run and see if there are efficiencies that can be had to save money.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Sidor.
Thank you. Well, this is one of the scariest things that's shown up in the newspaper in the recent weeks. And it's all abuzz a town. You knock on everybody's door that you're, meeting as a in your campaign, and this is what they want to talk about. They want to know what the results might be. As Trustee Blackwood mentioned, on the expense side, 26 police officers, 26 firemen, 50% of public works. On the revenue side, we would have to make up for that $3.7 million, we would have to increase our home rule sales tax by 50%, or the village portion of your property tax by over 11%. I don't really want to do either of those. I'm hoping, and I think we all are, that this is the first salvo from down in Springfield, and that hopefully there will be reduction and some type of negotiation to bring this number from $3.7 million down to a more reasonably manageable amount. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Schwingbeck.
Well, this is obviously pushing state problems to successfully run towns. So I, too, like Trustee Sidor said, we don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, the governor has come at us with a big number, and hopefully it's much less than that, and hopefully nothing. But we have to prepare for it. This is when tough decisions are made. I sat here in a village meeting where we can sustain ourselves for a short while, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. If it does, I think we can look at projects, maybe push some of those off. Look at maybe some wants and just focus on the needs of the village. I certainly would not want to cut employment and cut benefits that are really needed. But in a time like this is where really tough decisions are made, and you need folks that can make those tough decisions with our citizens in mind.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. It's unfortunate that the municipalities, which have to balance their budgets every year, are being asked to take the brunt of, or a brunt of the balancing the state's budget, just because they haven't taken their approaches for funding as they should have. As other candidates have said, $3.7 million could be a tremendous loss of police or firefighters if we had to let staff go, or public works, or municipal employees, or on the flip side, raising taxes or revenue in some fashion. Of course, none of us want to do any of that, and I don't think most of the public does either. If we had to eliminate $3.7 million out of our budget for the long term, we would have to seriously look at what we provide as a government. Expectations may have to be lowered in terms of how quickly projects can get through Village Hall, just because of lack of staff. So there are huge ramifications if we lose this money.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Scaletta.
This is a very challenging time for the state, which has become a very challenging time for this village. And I think that it's hypocritical of the governor to pass this down to the municipalities, when we have been responsible over the years of having a balanced budget and having a reserve to make sure that when there was an emergency, or if there is an emergency, that we are prepared. This state's not prepared, and to now push this down to the municipal level is unfortunate. We, as previously mentioned, 80% of our budget is consumed of personnel costs. And we do need to continue to streamline processes and modernize our technology. And we've done that over the years. If you look at the processes that we've had in place, we've done a lot of streamlining over the years, but there's always more that can be done, and there's always opportunity to look at the budgets line by line. But I would say that we need to take a closer look at continued economic development initiatives so that we can continue to increase the sales tax base, which also reduces the real estate tax base.
Thank you. Our next question, Candidate Harris, you'll be first to respond. It's in the area of emergency preparedness. Railroad tracks and trains go through downtown Arlington Heights. Is the village prepared to handle a major tragedy or hazardous material spill? What can you do as a trustee to make Arlington Heights prepared?
As a member of the Police and Fire Commission of this village, I see firsthand what a great job our firemen and our police officers do for the citizens of Arlington Heights. I think this question really gets to the essence of leadership and management. Part of leadership is trusting those beneath you who are subject matter experts on the areas. So when you're talking about emergency preparedness, I would look at our fire chief, I would look at our police chief, and I would look at the department heads in an emergency situation. We have the best personnel in the northwest suburbs. I have no doubts that they are prepared to handle any emergency situation. We've seen this over the past couple years. Just last year, there was a domestic incident in which our police responded flawlessly, and our fire chief was there to give CPR to an injured police officer. So I have no doubt we can handle any emergency situation, and I would look to the fire chief and the police chief to continue preparing personnel for those instances.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Sidor.
You know, I'm imagining in my mind a big tanker full of some hazardous material just falling off the tracks behind Village Hall. Not a pretty picture. Now, whether Arlington Heights all by itself can handle it, I don't know. But I do know that in situations like this throughout the northwest suburbs, area communities collaborate, and we are in partnership with our surrounding communities to handle big disasters like this. And I'm 100% confident that between Arlington Heights and our surrounding communities and the partnerships that we have fostered with them will help and, take a tragedy like this and, provide the best possible outcome in handling that tragedy as, the best they can. We can't do it alone. No one ever does, but I'm confident in the partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Schwingbeck.
Yeah, and this is the first time anyone's asked this question, but I am sure, and I have not personally asked, but I will find out, I'm sure our police and fire departments do have an emergency plan in place, and I'm going to look into that. One thing I think we can also do as a village is look at companies, whether it be the train companies or other firms that utilize our tracks and our roads and work with them and make sure that they have plans in place that things like this don't happen. Those are kind of out of our control, but they're coming through our village, and we have to make sure that those companies have plans in place too.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. I happen to have had a conversation with top police and fire officials a number of months ago, and we were talking about emergency preparedness. And I know from this conversation that our police and fire and other village managers do continually train on emergency preparedness, whether it would have something to do with something like a tank explosion or any other kind of disaster that might happen in the village. It can be a weather disaster, it can be all kinds of things. I know that our staff goes through Homeland Security and FEMA training, and personally I've actually had some of that kind of training myself, unrelated to any role I've had on the village, but through my employment. So I'm familiar with the establishment of an emergency command. I know that our staff does that even when we have something like bad weather situations. So, and I also know that our village doesn't work alone, and we work in joint with all surrounding communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Scaletta.
I am confident that the Village of Arlington Heights is well equipped to handle any kind of large-scale emergency. Many years ago, the Mayor Mulder initiated a task force that identified areas where we could improve. And through that task force, areas were identified, and the village continued to fund the training of our first responders. We do have mutual aid agreements with the surrounding suburbs, as well as the state and the county. Our chiefs of police and fire have great staff. We have the very best of the best. People are fighting to get onto the forces for police and fire in this village because they have such a great recognition throughout the area. And so I'm confident that our first responders will do a great job in responding and are up to the task and have the training to do so.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Blackwood.
Thank you. It's interesting that this question came to the fore because we've seen a lot of the train derailments and fires that have happened in our state just from oil transportation, and hazmat issues are certainly a major concern. Not too long ago, some of our trustees actually went through fire training with some of our first responders, and they came back with a real knowledge of what takes place when you have to go and respond to an emergency like this. And I too believe that our first responders are the best and the finest and most well-prepared of any of the local communities, but we do rely on a collaborative responsibility and relationship when we talk about responding to major emergencies that could occur on the rails and certainly on the roads. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our next question, I just want a reminder, try not to be too far back from the microphones, anyone. We're having a little trouble picking up a couple of you adequately. Okay, so our next question, Trustee Sidor, you'll be first to respond. As many of you have acknowledged this morning, there are flooding issues that need to be addressed. The question is, communities in Cook County have publicly acknowledged flooding. What do you think the Village of Arlington Heights can do to be aware of and use new technology and ideas? And the example that's cited is the permeable blacktop that has been used in Chicago for over 20 years.
Well, that's a great question. And for the last 3 years, I've been asking our design commission, on a related note, to put out some kind of a pamphlet or booklet when people build new homes on how they can, when they landscape their yards, to build bioswales, rain gardens, et cetera, to keep the water from going to the streets and the sewers at a slower rate than would typically run off in a non-permeable surface. I think permeable surfaces are great. I was reading an article about Wheeling the other day, and they're looking to raise money to solve these issues with a stormwater runoff tax. They've taken a percentage of the non-permeable surface of a facility, a school, or a hospital, and determine the amount of water runoff, and then tax accordingly. We're going to have to spend money to fix things because, a rain garden here or there is not going to stop the water. It's not going to stop flooding. But I think in the future, we might have to look at something like that to pay for those fixes. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, candidate Schwingbeck.
Yeah, and there's flooding all over the village. We talked with some residents this week up in Northgate, and even the residents, they had a couple of ideas. Keep the storm sewer covers clear. There is a study right now being done. They're wrapping it up here in the next couple of weeks. I talked to a few engineers and the head of engineering. They will be taking a look at that study, especially in a couple of the key areas of the village where flooding seems to be extremely prevalent. And then the village board is actually going to be able to review that study as well here in the next couple of months. But I strongly believe that our village engineering department is taking a very close look at flooding in our various neighborhoods, and we are going to have an action plan here in the near future.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. Flooding is a serious problem in town, but the causes and the reasons behind that flooding vary from part of town to part of town. As Mr. Schwingbeck just mentioned, in Northgate, they have flooding, and in their situation, it had to do with the grading of the roadways as well as insufficient capacity. In the center of town, we have problems with the combined sewer and stormwater system, which is aging and breaking way more than we want it to. As Trustee Sidor mentioned, the impermeable surfaces create a problem. So it all depends on what part of town you're in as to how we're going to fix the problem. And some of it is going to probably require a lot of money, and some of it is going to require, may be alleviated by small things that individuals can do. I went to a garden club meeting recently here in Arlington Heights, and one of the speakers was able to alleviate flooding in his household because of his bioswales and rain gardens, and also alleviate the flooding of his neighbors by doing that. A lot of different answers.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Scaletta.
Thank you. Flooding is really, really important, especially to those that take water and sewage into their homes. There are pockets of areas in our village that have flooding, and for a variety of different reasons. Some have to do with capacity. And some have to do with just an aging infrastructure that is going to need to be replaced. And so we need to look at all these different reasons why we're flooding. Several years ago, we initiated a study, and because we need to model our sewer system. And part of the problem was that we had a drought. Who would think we'd have a drought? But we did. And so it's taken a little bit longer than we wanted to. But what we need to do is we need to tackle each of these areas a little bit differently. We need to continue to encourage overhead sewers through our rebate program, but let's remember that that's not going to resolve all of our issues. We are going to have to look at what the funding sources are going to be, and look at and come up with some fresh ideas of how we resolve these problems, because this did not occur overnight, and it's not going to be solved overnight. But we need to make sure that we focus on this because it impacts the lives of the residents of the Village of Arlington Heights.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Blackwood.
Thank you. The flooding issue has always been one of my greatest disappointments, that we couldn't respond to the people that were experiencing the backups in the sewers, in the combined sewer area, more quickly and more efficiently, but it simply just couldn't happen until we had a model and a study of that particular area with good recommendations that we could utilize and then proceed and take action on. As many of the trustees have indicated, the flooding issues on streets and in basements are very different in the varied areas of town. So when you take a look at, as Trustee LaBedz had indicated, the variations in grade in Northgate, the problems in the Greenbrier and older areas of town that have the combined sewers, the capacity issues, the lack of attention to grading in your streets, they're all contributing together with the green initiatives that we could possibly use to rectify that.
Thank you. And the same question, Candidate Harris.
Flooding is a huge issue, and it's also a very scary issue. As I walk around the neighborhoods talking to residents, it's the number one thing that's brought up, even more than in Metropolis. As some candidates have mentioned, there's a flood study going on currently. The first part of any plan is doing the due diligence, doing the research on what the problem is. So the first thing I would say is we need to see what those flood studies say, and that'll be available to the village board mid-April. Once we get that action plan, my goal would be to create a plan that addresses the most pressing areas first. As far as specific options on how to fix the flooding, all options should be on the table. We should absolutely leverage the newest technologies that are available. Part of that is bringing together the stakeholders, including engineering, public works, the village trustee staff, and even maybe some consulting services to figure out what the best, most efficient way possible forward is.
Thank you. Our next question, Candidate Schwingbeck, you'll be first to respond. It's in the area of diversity. What would you do to make the village of Arlington Heights more racially diverse in housing and in jobs?
Well, I think the key is, and I'll just say that I've had the opportunity over my 57 years to live in different parts of the world. I've lived in India for 3 years, and I've lived in Europe for a year, and diversity is extremely important to me. I know that living overseas, you respect other countries and you respect other people and their cultures. And I think you can do that through making Arlington Heights a wonderful place, first of all, to want to come and live, and in our hiring practices and encouragement of people from different countries and cultures to want to come and live in our village.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. When I worked on the 1990 census many years ago, one of the things I noticed was I was surprised that from the numbers was that Arlington Heights was a little more diverse than I actually thought it was. And even though you look around and you think, maybe not so much, it has actually increased in diversity over the years. And diversity is a lot of different things. It can be race, it can be ethnic origin, it can be special needs, it can be disability. So, and speaking of which, I know that the Citizens Commission on Disabilities does encourage our business owners to hire people from the disabled population. That's one way to increase diversity in hiring. I actually work in the HR field, and we do try to work hard to increase and attract diverse people to our jobs. As far as our residents, the best we can do is to continue to have affordable housing in this village.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Scaletta.
I grew up in the city of Chicago and went to grade school and high school in the city, and obviously it's much more diverse than Arlington Heights is. But I'm not sure that it's the village's responsibility to encourage diversity. I think that the way that we encourage diversity by being good people. And I think that when you look at Arlington Heights, and that's one of the reasons why I came to this town, is that because at the end of the day, people are generally good people. We're the village of good neighbors. And I think that people move here because they enjoy having a good neighbor, and they enjoy the diversity that we already have. I think that we can always, I think enjoying a higher level of diversity is always a good thing, but I don't know that that's necessarily something that the village needs to be focusing on. I think that it happens naturally, and I think that, as time goes by, that you'll see that the village of Arlington Heights becomes more diverse because of all of because of all the offerings of the schools, the parks, our 5-star library. I think that those are the things that attract people.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Blackwood.
Thank you. It's interesting that diversity came up because I know it's certainly something that I deal with on a daily basis because I not only live here, but I work in the area, and I know that the business that I work for is extremely concerned about making sure that we have a diverse workforce, and that includes age and gender. It's just not a race or cultural issue. And we work very hard to make sure that our frontline people are, we give them every opportunity to make sure that they have a safe and welcoming workplace, and we also have opportunities to refer them to affordable housing that necessarily they wouldn't go to if they, or come to this town if they had to work for minimum wage. So I think it's the combination of awareness at the workplace and also having affordable housing for those individuals with our development processes. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Harris.
I would agree with what Trustee Scaletta said, and I'd like to add one major point, and it's about leadership. It's a leader's job to set his or her subordinates up for success. And the village leaders of Arlington Heights, and those leaders don't just include the trustees, but they include the mayor, the village staff, park board member, library trustees. It's all of our jobs to set the condition for success of our residents and businesses, regardless of their race or culture or any other thing. You see, it's all connected. Good homes, good parks, good schools, good resources, those will all attract people to move here and to set up businesses here. And it's our job as leaders to set the conditions so that those areas are successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Sidor.
Well, I'll just talk from personal experience. My children are, this is a long list, Polish, Lithuanian, Chinese, Hungarian, and Swiss. So I understand racial diversity, and I'm very sensitive to that issue. My daughter, my 26-year-old daughter, just purchased her first condominium right here downtown Arlington Heights. She wanted to move back here and be part of the community that she grew up in. She was fortunate enough to find a condo that she could afford. I'm very pleased with the new development that's going up just on the other side, the north side of the tracks, that will have an element of affordable housing in there. I believe it's 7 units of affordable housing that are going into the new development. I think it's on Dunton, I can't remember. But the point is that we will continue to do this. It's part of what we need to do. And because of that development that's on the other side of the tracks, I think once that has a positive impact on the village, I think we'll have more of that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, Trustee LaBedz will be first to respond. And it's in the area of economic development planning for Arlington Heights. What background do you have working with the Arlington Heights business community? And specifically, what would you do to attract business to Arlington Heights to fill vacant sites such as the former Panera Bread downtown and Yanni's, which is in the south, apparently?
Okay, thank you. As far as my background in terms of involvement with economic development, well, I served 2 years on the Downtown Master Plan Task Force, which was established at the time that TIF 1 area was ending. And I served as a resident. I don't work here in town. I live here in town. I lived here a long time. But my perspective, and one of the things that at that time Mayor Mulder was looking for, were some residents to join a group of developers and trustees and plan commission members and so forth. I also spent 6 years on the plan commission. So that gives me that kind of knowledge about economic development, and I have seen firsthand what the staff does to attract development. I do know that our development staff goes out to recruit to fill vacant storefronts, or even tries to recruit even before, when they find there is going to be an empty space, to try to retain businesses here in town. So a lot goes on in terms of economic development.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Scaletta.
So I've been involved in the business community since I moved to town, or even before I moved to town. And in addition to working on the task force with Trustee LaBedz, I also served on the Chamber of Commerce on the board of directors, as did Carol. And I was also the former president of the Downtown Business Association. And working on the Economic Alliance over the years, the Alliance would make motions to get the board to define initiatives for the planning department so that they could go out and attract new businesses to the village. In addition to going to ICSC, the planning department now has a better relationship with landlords and developers. And if you look at the Panera Bread, planning department was well aware that they were leaving prior to them announcing it. And that's a good thing, because that meant that the planning department hit the ground running from the time that they heard that they might be leaving town, after doing everything that they could to try and keep them in town, but can't put a drive-through in the Arlington Town Square, and that's the new direction that Panera Bread is going.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Blackwood.
Well, I'm one of the few people on this board, if I'm the only person, that can say I was the past president of the Arlington Heights Chamber of Commerce in their 50th golden year, and I was very pleased to do that. In the 33 years that I've lived in town, 22 of those years have been involved in business organizations, business planning, the plan department, and doing a lot of outreach with just business groups to see how we can not only attract but retain the businesses that we have. It's important that you have a balance, and a balanced approach really involves making sure that you have your fingers on the pulse of what's going on in town. And with the new alliance that we have with the Chamber for retention, that takes care of that. When it comes to attracting new business in town, I think it's each of our responsibilities to not only work with staff as they go to various conventions to attract larger organizations, but to talk to people and see what we can do to bring smaller businesses in town.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Harris.
Sure. I think there were really two questions in there, one about the experience and one about a plan on how to help businesses. As for the experience, while I don't have a business in Arlington Heights and I don't work in Arlington Heights, I do work for a travel and software firm in Itasca. And the issues that we have are the same that businesses have here in Arlington Heights: personnel, rising rent costs, et cetera. As for what I would do to help improve business in Arlington Heights, I think it really goes back to an idea of teamwork. The village trustees alone aren't going to solve this issue. We need to get all the stakeholders at a table and come up with an integrated plan. And those stakeholders include, as Trustee Blackwood said, the Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Alliance, the directors of the village departments, the mayor, the village manager. We need to come together and figure out, what does Arlington Heights want to be known for? Why is somebody going to choose to move a business here or start a business here instead of another northwest suburb? Really coming together as a team.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Sidor.
Thank you. So a couple months ago, I was getting my eyes checked at Dr. Lederer's and Margolis's office, and the office manager comes up to me and says, "Mike, we have to move. We're not going to be in this building anymore. The landlord is renting the entire building to someone else. We're trying to find a place." I said, "Well, where are you looking?" "Well, our broker showed us this place, and this place, and half of them were in Buffalo Grove," and I started to panic. And I said, "You know what? You guys have been here forever. You're a staple in our community. Let me give the Community and Planning Development Department a call, because I think we can help you." I made the phone call on my way back home, and sure enough, a few months later, Drs. Lederer and Margolis are now in their happy home on the north end of Arlington Heights, with adequate parking for all of their patients, and we have retained a long-standing business in our village that didn't go to Buffalo Grove or Palatine or Mount Prospect. So that's what I have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Schwingbeck.
Yeah, and I think this is an important issue. One of the things that I believe in is, as I said earlier, is keeping our businesses doing well and attracting new businesses. And really the issues, and several downtown business owners are friends of mine, and my wife has worked downtown. They're faced with sales tax, property rents, the layout of some of those properties, when you look at the Panera Bread. And probably one of the biggest things you hear is parking. I mean, we have to make it attractive for people to not only want to come into the downtown area, which is what everyone focuses on, but throughout the village. And parking seems to be an issue. People want to get in, park, do their shopping, do their dining, and leave. So I know that the Chamber of Commerce and our city government is working hard, and we've got about, I think right now, about an 8% on occupancy rate, and they're working hard to fill that.
Thank you. Our next question, Trustee Scaletta, you'll be first to respond. It's the Metropolis. To what extent should the village provide financial support for Metropolis? Will there be a financial report, and when?
Well, the Metropolis is near and dear to my heart, and it's a cultural enhancement to our village. And as we now know, through an independent study that was initiated through the village, there's a direct economic impact of about $3 million and then an indirect economic impact of about $1.4 million. And that will grow as attendance grows. Over the years, I have been supportive of Metropolis and continue to be. I believe that the village needs to provide a nominal subsidy to the village or to the Metropolis to support them. Over the years, I've been supporting Metropolis and raising funds for them. I've put on 5 fundraisers. In fact, I met my wife at the first one. And it was a great opportunity for me to get out and not only meet people that have the same common goal of improving the Metropolis, but we raised over $100,000 net in those 5 fundraisers. But more importantly, we need to be responsible. And what I've done is I've worked on the Metropolis Oversight Committee and worked with a group of people to make sure that there are no financial surprises. I'm wrapping up. There are no financial surprises, and in fact, as of right now, there's still $100,000 that remains, and we're still about 45 days from the end of our budget, so that's a positive thing.
Okay, so knowing that this is an issue that is of vital concern to your community, as the moderator, I'm going to say let's tag 15 seconds extra onto the answers on this question. Okay.
So do I get 15 more seconds?
Well, you used it.
I would have done better than that.
I'm going to level
I
the
could talk about Metropolis for a long, long time because it's near and dear and very, very important to our downtown.
Thank you. So I'm going to level the playing field, and we'll all add 15 seconds. Trustee Blackwood, same question.
Thank you. I believe that Metropolis is a vital component to the downtown as well. I personally have supported it in the past and attended many of the performances and enjoyed them. The business that I represent and that I have control of the marketing budget supports Metropolis as well, and we're proud to do that. One of the issues that has come up in the past, and I think we're all aware of it, was over the past 5 to 6 years, there has been a steady decline in the attendance at Metropolis and the value of the performing, or the performances, I should say. So now, when it came to October of last year, there was a question on whether to fund them. And because of the financial mismanagement from my perspective, it was very difficult for me to support that additional funding. Having said that, things have changed dramatically for Metropolis. There's a new executive director, there are new members to the board, and I believe that there's a new enthusiasm and enrichment that's happening with that organization and the performances that have changed. And so I'm cautiously optimistic that we will go forward and see it continue, and I would be in favor of an allotment, which is a term that I'm recently familiar with, for Metropolis.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Harris.
Well, we need to have an honest conversation about the future of Metropolis and how we judge its success. It's been in operation for 15 years, and some of the clear, quantifiable metrics on its viability are still unclear to me. The taxpayers who have funded it, to the tune of about $5 million, have the right to expect their village leaders to lay out, in writing, specific, tangible goals and support relationships. I support Metropolis, I support the arts, but as we know with other performing arts theaters, it's unrealistic to think that Metropolis will be self-sustaining. So what is the level of support that we should give Metropolis? As others have said, there will be a business plan presented to the village board in April, and once that plan is presented, we need to sit down and determine what level of funding we are going to give Metropolis, and we need to stick to that. And we need to take that message to the residents and say, this is how much we're giving to Metropolis and no more.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Sidor.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to say that we've had a brutally honest conversation regarding the Metropolis since before October of last year. I support the Metropolis. Currently, my largest customer has documents in front of them on their desk to continue their support to the Metropolis with my help. My brother Rick and I will be meeting with the Metropolis staff on putting new furniture in their lobby on pennies on the dollar or a full donation. So I do support the Metropolis. As far as the subsidy or allotment or whatever you want to call it is concerned, yes. I think that they should be subsidized within reason, based on their projections, and when they come to us during the budget season and they say, we need X number of dollars, I like to see it not to exceed that amount, period. The rest is up to them. And hopefully that their new structure, their new management, their new programming, and all the things that have been honestly thrown out there to the public and to them will help alleviate some of the miscomings that they've experienced in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, candidate Schwingbeck.
Well, this I really believe is probably the hot topic when you go around and talk to people in the village. And people are passionate about it. They're either very much in favor of it or totally against it. And I will tell you that I have always been passionate about the arts, going back to playing in our orchestra in high school. And I've done the same with the rest of our family, gotten them very interested in it. I've said this before, I want to see the Metropolis successful. My wife and I, too, are personal donors to the theater. It has to run more, like a business. It's a nonprofit organization, but it's hard to bring in $1.7 million and spend $2.4. So I'm excited about the new staff in place and the advisory board between us and the Metropolis Performing Arts Center. 75% of the people that go there that find it a great place to go for a show are not even from Arlington Heights. So that shows you the perception of the people in neighboring communities that really like it. And that's encouraging. And now we have to make sure that the folks in our own town have a good perception as well. And I'm also in favor of helping with some funding.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. Well, like pretty much everyone up here, I'm also a supporter of Metropolis. I've been a supporter of Metropolis since day one, as season ticket holders and as donors. My husband and I have been involved. But the first thing I want to mention in terms of the money that goes to Metropolis is that it does not come out of your property taxes. That is one thing that many people in this community don't realize, that the funding that is provided by the village, to whatever amount that happens to be, does not come out of your property taxes. It comes out of the food and beverage tax, art and entertainment fund, and that amount is that goes into that is 25 cents on a $100 restaurant bill. So that's the amount of money that goes into the fund that gives Metropolis its subsidy. I don't expect the Metropolis to be self-sustaining. I voted in favor of the $450,000 infusion of emergency money. I think that, like a lot of problems, sometimes you have to hit a real bottom to start going up again. I think we are definitely on the upswing. I'm very encouraged by our new, the Metropolis's new executive director, who's got a lot of experience in the entertainment industry, and I'm also very glad that the village has much closer oversight of the finances of Metropolis. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see that Trustee Scaletta would like to use a rebuttal. A reminder, you have 30 seconds.
All right, I'll try and talk fast. So it is the A&E fund, and it does come out of food and beverage tax, and it's 25% of the tax that is collected on food and beverage. So nothing comes out of property taxes. And the $5 million number that's being used out there is the number that also includes the acquisition of the theater. I have confidence that we have a new executive director with a proven track record who is laying out a vision for this year, the next 5 years, the next 15 years, which I think will be important. Yes, I voted no to the $300,000 because there was not any oversight. I did vote for the $450 because we now have oversight, rolled up my sleeves, got to work, doing a better job at the Metropolis.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Our next question, candidate Blackwood, you'll be first to respond. What would you do to encourage the board to make sure that Heller Lumber, established in 1923, is not put out of business when it's forced to move due to the housing development east of the recreation park?
First of all, I really appreciate the fact that the Heller family has been in town for almost a century and provided a very essential and hometown type of business to this community. With that being said, I think Heller Lumber runs their business very very succinctly and very efficiently, and they provide, as I mentioned, a service. But just because they are currently located where they are and they have the needs that they do, being located to a railroad spur, does not necessarily mean that they are going to move from that particular area. Nothing has been determined yet. They are within the TIF area, or the tax incremental financing area, but they are not required to move yet. There are other businesses in that area that are deteriorating and certainly need to be renovated and energized and probably relocated, but nothing's been set in cement yet.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Harris.
I'd agree with most of what Trustee Blackwood said. That area is zoned as an M1 industrial district. Around Heller Lumber, you have upscale homes, a grocery store, restaurant, service businesses. However, nothing has been set in stone about moving forward with that area. If that area is determined to be a TIF district, I would look to our great village staff, the Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Alliance, and the village trustees and mayor to work with Heller Lumber to see if there was an alternate location for their business that suits their needs.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Sidor.
Thank you. When this issue came up last year, I visited Heller Lumber to talk to Mr. Heller's daughter. She gave me his business card with his home phone on the back of it, and I called Mr. Heller, and I had 2 45-minute conversations with Mr. Heller about this entire issue. No one wants them to move. They don't want to move. However, if it comes to the point where they do need to move, the issue here is, they do need a railroad spur, as Trustee Blackwood had mentioned. It's cheaper to get your lumber off of a railroad card than it is via truck. My understanding is that there are possibilities currently that there might be a site, as I've talked to some of the departments that handle this, where we can implement a railroad spur and keep them in Arlington Heights at a new location. There's a lot of moving parts to this issue. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm confident.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Schwingbeck.
Well, this is a great question. I actually had a 7:30 meeting this morning with the Heller family. I mean, this has been a very important topic for me since starting this off in September, and I met with Bob Heller, and I've talked with Kathy Pollard, and I met with Jane. I do not want to see them go. Being in business myself, and I know it's a TIF district down there. They've been a successful business. They've been running a long time, 90 years. I know we're working with them right now to find an alternate source, and as Trustee Sidor said, the railroad spur is extremely important to them. But I would not vote in having them leave, and the Heller family is definitely doing all they can to support me in my run for village trustee. But they're important to our community, and we have got to pay attention to their company.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. As others have said, nothing's been set in stone yet. There isn't a development plan that's been brought before the board that would require the movement of any particular business, Heller Lumber or any other. And I do know, as others have also said, that staff has been working with them concerning their special needs here in the community because of the railroad spur. This is a very difficult subject, and one of many that board members face. But one of the things that I'm confident in is I look to the future. I see what happened in downtown Arlington Heights and the positive development there, the positive development on Rand Road where the Barnes & Noble is, and I hold in my mind the confidence that we'll also have a good outcome with development and with existing business owners and future business owners in the area that's now known as the Hickory-Kensington TIF. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, Candidate Harris. Ooh, I did miss you, candidates. Oh, Trustee Scaletta. Wow. See, we're getting to the end of the questions, and I have to read all of them and figure out how I'm going to prioritize, and I totally forgot you. I apologize. Trustee Scaletta, want me to repeat that question?
I do.
Okay. What would you do to encourage the board to make sure Heller Lumber Company, established in 1923, is not put out of business when it's forced to move due to housing development east of Recreation Park?
All right. There is no requirement. There is no mandate. They don't have to move at all. It's their property. So I would say that, first of all, they're not only an important business to our community, but they've been a huge supporter of the community over the years. They weren't just there as a lumber company. They were integrally involved in our community. So there is no requirement for them to move. We would have to have eminent domain to make them move. And I don't see anybody requiring Heller Lumber to move. In the event that they wanted to move, staff has identified some locations that might work for them, and we would have to possibly cover some of the costs for their relocation, as we want to make sure that we take care of those that have taken care of us for so long.
Thank you. Okay,
you.
now the next question. And Candidate Harris, you will be first to respond. And someone in our audience here would like each of you to identify the single most important issue facing this village.
I think public safety and serving and protecting our residents is the main job of any level of government. As a commissioner on the Police and Fire Commission, it's become clear to me that the police have outgrown their facility. It's time to build them a new police station that gives them the resources to adequately serve and protect you. Having said that, this new police station doesn't need to be extravagant or exorbitant. We have a great police staff, and they deserve a new structure and footprint. However, we do not need to have the best police station ever built. We have a plan in place to move forward, and I think building a new facility for our police is the most pressing issue right now.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Sidor.
Well, I think essential services are always the most pressing issue for a village to deliver to their residents. But looking at the big picture, I believe it's the situation down in Springfield with, possibly losing $3.7 million in revenue, as we discussed earlier this morning. Because if that happens, then we struggle with public safety and then delivering essential services, which may have to be affected by that, which no one would want. So outside of the Metropolis flooding, aging infrastructure, aging garages, building a new police station, and Governor Rauner, if I were to spin all those plates at one time, I'd say, that $3.7 million, to lose that would be the biggest issue, because it would affect everything.
Thank you. Same question, Candidate Schwingbeck.
Yeah, this is a complex question, but I think people, not only the people that live in our town, but the reason why people come to our community, and that's our schools, our fine police department and fire department, and our public works department. That's why people come here in the first place. And we've got to maintain that as a very strong base. But probably one of the biggest problems I see is the infrastructure. That's going to be costly to maintain, and we've got to do a good job at that, because, again, that's another reason why people come to our village.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. If I were to answer this question based on the number of questions I get asked by residents as I go around town, that question would be the future of the Metropolis. But actually, sitting up here as an incumbent trustee, I agree with Trustee Sidor, and I believe that the loss of $3.7 million, if that were to come to pass from the state, from our share of the state income tax, would be the most critical problem facing us, because it does affect everything. It affects how much staff we can have in police and firefighters. It would affect how much we can do in terms of essential services. Can we get our roads plowed as quickly when the snow falls? Can we get, the water main breaks fixed as quickly? Because we have all these other problems. But if we don't have the money and we can't raise it from any other source with a potential freeze on property tax or anything else, then we're really in trouble.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Scaletta.
Well, after talking to many, many residents, I would say that the most important issue to every resident in this town, real estate taxes. And I think it's all encompassing, because obviously we need to provide municipal services with police and fire and also public works. And we have to make sure that we're making changes to our aging infrastructure. But one of the most responsible things that we've done on this board Back in 2007, when I first got on the board, all of a sudden they present me with a levy that we need to approve in December. And I'm like, all right, but what's the budget? Well, we don't do the budget till April. So I'm proud to say that finally this year, we have now changed our fiscal year, and that we will be setting a budget before we set the levy, which is just music to my ears. We need to make sure that we know how much we're going to spend before we ask taxpayers for their dollars, and that's being responsible. And I'm glad that this year we brought this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, Trustee Blackwood.
Thank you. And you've heard all of the trustees talk and the candidates speak about funding and the capital improvements programs that we're planned and looking forward to doing. But if we don't have the financing for it, there's no question the funding of those programs will be deeply impacted and affected, and probably in a very negative way. It's also a concern of ours that the possible funding from the municipal motor tax, motor and fuel tax funding is going to be impacted as well. We need to make sure that on our level, the municipal level, that we protect as much as we can from the state accessing our funding sources, because it's important that these programs go forward.
Thank you. So, looking at the time, we are going to begin our closing statements, but I thought I would read, a rebuttal request from Trustee Sidor.
Just before that happens, there's been nuances this morning about the leadership of our village, and it's been mentioned several times. I, for one, as a trustee on this board, feel that the current board shows a tremendous amount of leadership. We have trustees sitting on various committees regarding the police station, regarding the Metropolis, regarding small business development. Mayor Hayes is a wonderful mayor with a steady hand and moves this village forward. When we picked the new village manager, that was kind of a tough thing to do. But when all of us sat in that room and chose a new village manager, it was one of the most proudest moments of my day as a trustee because of how this village board worked together with leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. So as you prepare for your closing statements, I'd just like to share a couple of cards that I didn't get around to asking, just briefly to let you know that people are concerned that businesses are required to clear snow on the sidewalks in front of their business, and there's not enforcement, and they wonder if that can be addressed. And they also wonder, walking throughout town, they really appreciate having a community where pedestrian traffic can be safe. But is it possible to have pedestrian countdown timers at major intersections? And another issue is commuter parking. Could there be electronic pay? And this one will surprise you. Let's increase what's paid for commuter parking. So that's always a surprise. People are willing to pay more. Okay, because they appreciate what they have in this community. So without further ado, I'd like to start with the closing statements, and they will be in reverse order. So Candidate Schwingbeck, you have 1 minute.
Well, when I look at the village board, I look at our village board no different than I look at any other board or organization. You look for people with very unique skill sets. I'm an engineer, a metallurgical engineer. I've been in sales for the last 20 years. People are extremely important to me. I've gotten involved as a manager in our company from quality, safety, production issues. I have an MBA as well, and I look at the board needing somebody like myself with my unique skill sets that would help the village move forward. I'm passionate about Arlington Heights, and I would look forward to everyone supporting me in this run for trustee. Punch 3 for Tom.
Thank you. Your closing statement, Trustee Sidor.
Thank you. There's no doubt Arlington Heights is a wonderful place to live, and I know this firsthand because I've been here since 1970. And our village will always face challenges, some of which we discussed this morning. And during my first term, I have learned that most issues are complex, tricky to work through, and, as in the case of Metropolis, quite emotional. But as your trustee, I will continue to help Arlington Heights successfully navigate these and other challenges by listening first. Then I will apply experienced leadership, a collaborative approach, and an independent voice to achieve the best possible outcome. Please visit my website, at mikefortrustee.com to learn more about me and how I have helped residents, businesses, and civic groups. There is more work to be done in this village, and I would be honored when you punch 5 on your ballot, reinvest in me, so I can roll up my sleeves and work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Your closing statement, Candidate Harris.
We've talked this morning about issues, Metropolis, flooding, potential cuts in state funding, and so on. But this election is not just about issues. Issues change. This year it's Metropolis. Previously it was term limits and the Emerald Ash Borer. Before that it was the construction of the new Village Hall. This election is not about issues and it's not about the past. It's about leadership and the future of our great community. The Village Board has big decisions to make. And while issues may change, what doesn't change is the leadership necessary to make those decisions. What doesn't change is character, competence, trust, selfless service. Who do you trust to lead us on the right path into the future? Our nation trusted me to lead sons and daughters of America into war, and our mayor trusts me to help hire and promote the public safety officers that serve and protect you. Now I stand here today humbly asking you to trust me and allow me to serve you as a village trustee.
Thank you. Your closing statement, Trustee Blackwood.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, I am a 33-year resident of this town and proud to say that I have deep roots in this community. I also have 33 years of work experience in this community, and it's on the local level. Very short period of time I was working outside of the boundaries of our town, but for the majority of it I was here, and I saw the changes and increases in the population, and certainly to see how the downtown was developed in a very positive way, and how we were, in fact, very cognizant of the fact that people do like to have a hometown feel, and we like to have economic viability. That's where I come in. My experience and my forward thinking also combines to make sure that there's a balanced and synergistic approach between the residents and the businesses of this town. And if you believe in the fact that you've had somebody here to stand and witness and participate in the village growth, please pick number 4 on April 7th.
Thank you. Your closing statement, Trustee Scaletta.
Thank you very much. Leadership is important, and I am a proven community and business leader. I've worked collaboratively with the Village Board. Even when we disagree, we work together to find a common solution. I put my money where my mouth is. I roll up my sleeves, and I get to work. Working on the Metropolis Oversight Committee has been really important and has been rewarding because I've learned even more information that I can share with my fellow trustees. My professional experience operating small businesses gives me a unique perspective when we address issues that come before the Village Board. Every time we get an issue that comes before us, no matter what the issue is, I'm there to think positively and act responsibly. I think it all comes down to using common sense and good judgment, and I would just ask you to take a look at my website, electjohnscaletta.com, for more information. And when you go to the ballot box, start at the bottom and go up. I'm number 6, on the bottom, punch 6. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your trust that you've given me over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Your closing statement, Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the League for hosting this forum. I personally know it's a lot of work to put these on, but I also want to thank all of you who are here in the room and those of you watching on cable TV. People often ask me why I want to be a village trustee, because being a trustee is a big commitment. I've always been interested in government, and I believe that government can be a positive force, allowing us to do many things better by working together. And this is especially true at the local level. But what I really believe in is good government, and I'm happy to say that's what we have here in Arlington Heights. That doesn't mean we always agree or that everyone is happy with every outcome. To me, good government results from good people working together for the greatest good. And good government starts with you, the voters. Please allow me to use my experience to continue the tradition of good government in Arlington Heights by allowing me to remain on the board. Punch 1 for Robin LaBedz. Remember, every vote counts. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to just make a few closing remarks, and then we'll conclude with our applause, as I promised at the beginning. I'd like to also thank the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, and Buffalo Grove area for arranging for this forum. I'd like to thank the audience for the thoughtful questions that you provided this morning, the Village of Arlington Heights for the use of this facility, Laurel Communications, and I'll make a couple announcements about the retiming of these broadcasts, and also our candidates this morning. You can watch this forum live on Arlington Heights Village Access Channel, WOW Channel 6, or Comcast Channel 17. Rebroadcasts of this forum will take place on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 11 in the morning, and Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday at 5 p.m., 7-day coverage. I don't think anybody else can make that claim. And online, the forums also can be viewed on lwv.ontheweb.tv. There are hyphens in between on and the web. The video of this forum was provided by Laurel Communications Incorporated as a community service to the residents of Arlington Heights. Again, thank you for that. And please vote. Early voting will begin on March 23rd through April 4th at the Arlington Heights Village Hall, Monday through Saturday from 9 to 5, and also Sunday from 9 to 3. And if you don't get in to vote early, please do get out to vote on Election Day, April 7th. We know that democracy is not a spectator sport. I ask that our audience take a brief 10-minute break and also thank our candidates this morning for their thoughtful responses to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.